Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the podcast we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
John.
Yes.
At long last, we do what I think is a nearly perfect film.
I think really the whole show has been building to this episode.
Yeah, I would have to say this one is almost perfect, but there are two things holding it back. And I'm going to get these out of the way at the top.
Okay.
The title does promise me something I never got. I honestly thought this was about some sort of like support group for vampires. There would be a lot of hugging.
It's okay, man. It's all right. Look.
Yeah, like some sharing of emotions.
I'm Vlad. I'm a blood drinker. Hi, Vlad.
I kind of thought it would be something much more cuddly.
I actually like that idea for a movie, though. Kind of the vampire support group movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we didn't get that. And also, I have to admit, and this will make me seem, creepier than usual, but I honestly thought we would see Alyssa Milano naked. And
oh wait, did you see some kind of safe for TV cut?
This was a 25-minute.
I was just gonna say
right?
A safe for TV cut that is a very short film, because if you take out the nudity and sex,
yeah,
there's nothing else in this movie, because we are talking about 1995's embrace of the vampire, and there's not much movie here, period.
There isn't. This is a movie that says, look, we said in the title embrace of the vampire, so if you needed that character to have a name, he's not gonna.
Oh my god. Martin Kemp's unforgettable performance as vampire.
Oof.
Man,
Oof.
I mean, dude, I know this is super cheap and it's exploitation fare, but how about doing anything with a script?
What's really weird about this is that I mean, of course, I will say, obviously, the 90s, as we know, there was everything goes in waves. The 90s had a huge wave of erotic thrillers.
Yes.
Based off the success of things like 9.5 Weeks and
Basic Instinct.
Yeah,
Fatal
and Fatal Attraction and,
yeah.
and Basic Instinct, all
Yeah.
these kinds of things. So obviously all the cheap filmmakers are like going, well, that's all people need. Great. We'll have some blue light photography. It's always kind of that blue photography. We'll have some sexy sax music in the background, and we'll have naked people.
And
that's great. But how does something this poorly written, conceived, how does it pull in for its tiny budget? Some middle grade stars.
I mean, the fact that I know anyone in this movie is shocking, right? Like,
I know.
What Jennifer
so we have
Tilly,
Alyssa Milano, Martin Kemp, and who
had dirt on Jennifer Tilly that she had to be in this, because she not only is she arguably, I mean, definitely the biggest name here, I think. I mean, aside from at this time, maybe,
but
Alyssa
not
Milano.
At the time.
Well, but I mean, she was established enough at the time, enough to say no to this, at least.
Enough to say no to what is essentially a 3-minute cameo.
Yeah, and also, I mean, talked about, she maybe was on set for a couple hours, because I was doing background research on this, and this entire movie was shot in 13 days.
Yeah, I read that too.
And it shows. It feels like it was made in 30. I almost go, that feels like a lot, actually, based on the movie I saw. Are you sure they didn't shoot it in 6 days?
It is not. It's not good on
for not
any
much.
level.
And by the way, was it made for a very small amount of money?
It's something like $50,000. Maybe
it's somewhere in that, but it's like in the $100,000 range.
Okay, yeah, it's tiny.
$500,000, 500,000, which is tiny.
500,000,
but it grossed 15 million from video sales.
It actually was a big success, but it's all on that success is built on people wanting to see the girl from Who's That Boss naked.
But here's the thing: the thing that's funny about watching this, as I was watching it yesterday, is thinking about the horny guys watching this, and then, I mean, they must have had their fingers on that fast forward button, because literally there's nothing to compel you to watch anything else in this movie.
No,
there's not.
Because
there could be a movie that is known for having Alyssa Milano nudity in it that's also kind of a decent, like, somewhat scary horror movie that teen boys could also like, but instead it's
Poison Ivy, which was her next one.
Poison Ivy 2.
Oh, two. Yeah.
Let's
That
let's not besmirch the original classic Poison Ivy.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to step on Drew Barrymore classic work.
And I think Scarrett. I think that's our boy Scarrett in that.
Oh,
I think he's the dad she's trying to seduce in that. If I recall.
Maybe so.
Because I think I've only seen, and I'm sure I've only seen the first Poison Ivy. I have no reason to watch the sequel. Yeah, it's Scarrett. Yeah.
I think I saw the 3 that hit cable because they were always on, and the third one had
Jamie Presley.
Thank you. I was trying to remember her name, who I've always liked, and I think is actually a very talented character actress. But
I mean,
dude, after My Name Is Earl.
My Name Is Earl is one of my favorite shows, and she was so fucking funny.
She was so fucking funny, and she's crazy hot. But I was like,
she is. But
where did she go?
She's one of those
a lot
people,
of those people
where
disappeared.
It's a bummer. I mean, it's a bummer that this is the problem in Hollywood, right? Is if you're as crazy hot as she is, then they kind of don't think about you being funny, even though she is really funny. It's an really unfair thing, though, where it's like, I'm sorry, you can't be that attractive and that funny. We've as Hollywood, we've decided you need to just be sexy. You can't be funny.
I'm sorry, you just broke Hollywood.
Oh, it's sort of interesting that it was later in her career that she got funny stuff, because it's like, well, now that you're like 40, I guess you can be funny.
Oh, right. They're like, oh, you finally entered the character actress.
Yeah. Not that she wasn't still gorgeous at 40, you know.
Of course.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Also, Brandon, I know we're so happy that we get to see this movie again, because in 2013 they remade it. So we'll get to see this whole plot all over again in a couple seasons.
Are you kidding me? They did a remake of
this? They remade this movie in 2013. Yep.
But remade what?
I know. Yeah,
there is nothing.
I'm curious if that adds anything, not even intentionally, but just by being another movie. Can it have, if it has even a semblance of a plot, it will smoke this movie.
Yeah.
Because really, I was texting somebody about this, saying I was watching this, and I said, this is a movie that looks and feels like a Cinemax After Dark movie, but thinks it has loftier ambitions.
It actually doesn't even seem like that. I kept thinking like this is an episode of something like Red Shoe Diaries.
Okay, in that vein, it's an After Dark,
one of those things, but like those
dark
half-hour things, and then they're like, "Oh shit, we have all this extra film."
Or because it does have,
we have all this extra video.
Actually, yeah, the plot of this is just about enough to warrant a 30-minute episode of
one 30-minute episode of one of those softcore things.
I want to cut back to. I want to cut back to Duchovny reading the letter about this.
Dear Red Shoes, I never thought I'd write to you, but it turns out there was a vampire that needed me because he was going to die in 3 days or some kind of shit.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, Jesus, who knows? Who knows? Oh my God. Okay. I'm just on the IMDb, and whoever wrote this review, I automatically love just the title. Perhaps the 12-minute version would have been a lot better. That's about as much plot, quote unquote, is here.
Very true.
Let's talk about the who is 3 people are credited with writing this movie. How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know.
Rick Bitzelberger.
Oh, you gotta always throw in
Oh my God. Okay. At the time he wrote this, he was writing for Erotic Confessions on the Cinemax channel. He was a staff writer.
You're not surprising me.
No, that adds. I'm just saying that adds up. Nicole Cody, she wrote this and a bunch of other softcore stuff. It looks like.
There you go.
Some softcore.
I mean, they knew what they were making.
Red Riding Hood stuff, and then Hallie Eaton. This is it.
There you go.
Just this. But I want to talk more about Anne Grisod, who's our director here.
Yeah.
This makes a lot of sense.
What?
She edited Coppola's Dracula. She was a very well, I mean, she edited a lot. She edited The Outsiders for Coppola. Ooh, One from the Heart. She was a Coppola person. She's a well thought of editor. But what I was going to say about this is something I kept thinking while watching this.
You are blowing my mind away.
Something I kept thinking about while watching this is, and her only previous directing experience was an episode of Red Shoe Diaries before this, which totally adds up. And in fact, everything else she directs, because she does the next year Poison Ivy 2 with Alyssa Milano as well. And then in 97,
went back.
In 97, she directs another 9.5 weeks We all remember.
Oh
God,
dear
Mickey
God.
Rourke came back for that. Oh, I did not know that.
Who?
Rourke is back in that.
But I have a feeling he's probably a drop-in. Like, hey man, enjoy your time with your 9.5 weeks, and then walks off.
I don't think he is, based on what I'm seeing here. I think this is a leading role.
Oh, God.
It's 97, Mickey Rourke. His career is on the skids at that point.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing about the Dracula, I was thinking, because you were talking about erotic thrillers, also the sexy vampire movies, because Dracula, Interview with the Vampire, these weren't, but they're not as just pointlessly explicit as this is. But still, there was sort of in the air, vampires are sexy again, and we even saw Eddie try to be a sexy
I think
vampire.
in general, erotic thrillers in general, but also, of course, this is clearly influenced very much so now that I know that she actually edited the damn thing. But you know, like right off the bat, the very first thing we see, which is an origin of the vampire. No name.
I don't know that
it's totally a Penthouse Video ripoff of the Vampire Bride scene from Bram Stoker.
I don't know that I've hated a movie faster than this one. As soon as we're in this
I know.
romance novel, cheap cable period erotica thing, I went, oh fuck. Like I was like, there's gonna be 90 minutes of this. Jesus Christ.
I gotta say this. I have seen other things that Martin Kemp has been in. Specifically, obviously,
he's not
The Craze,
nobody.
Which is a very good use of him, mainly because he and his real life twin played the twins, The Craze.
Yeah.
And they're both Brits, but he's really not a good actor.
No, and I actually, as you say that, I much prefer the Tom Hardy Cray movie.
Well, sure, but The Craze for a long time was the only one.
Yeah.
So,
right, yes, that's true.
And it had the gimmick of two twins playing the twins.
Rather than the same guy.
But
that guy's a better actor than both of those real twins. So,
but there was never a point in listening to Spandau Ballet in the 80s that I thought, oh, that guy should act.
And he acts a lot. I mean, he's a familiar face to me because if you look at his career, so much cable TV that I was watching.
Sure.
Highlander, Tales from the Crypt, the Outer Limits, the 90s Outer Limits show, and then a lot of kind of like softcore stuff, right? I mean,
he found a niche, and the niche was being this kind of character, which is kind of like, I'm sort of sulky and British. That's it. Thank you. Good night.
I don't think he's very sexy, though.
I mean, that's for other people to decide.
It is, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of, we've seen a number of sexy vampires on the show, and I know he's low rent. You know, he's not going to be Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise or even Gary Oldman, but I just thought, like, and a lot, I mean, it's written and he has nothing to play, but I did just think, like, I didn't find much alluring about this guy.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with acting skill. It's not just about, are you an attractive person?
Yeah, because I mean, he's a reasonably handsome guy.
Aesthetically a handsome guy, right?
Yeah.
But he is flat.
Yeah.
He is so flat. And in this thing,
and also he's kind of in a vacuum for most of the movie. Like, he hardly ever acts with anyone else, really.
That's very true.
And so that also hurts.
I mean, it took me. They don't really spend any time trying to establish where we are, what this is about. You take literally the first 15 minutes of this movie are his origin, and then him talking sexily in quotes.
This whole movie is sexy in quotes, right?
Yes, yeah. And Alyssa Milano's erotic dream. And we have not been introduced to Alyssa Milano. She hasn't spoken. 15 minutes of this movie are just voiceover of him going,
speak for a while.
You are like the princess that was supposed to be mine, and then I was cursed, and and you will be mine, and I am talking to you in your dream.
Did you find it?
That's 15 minutes of the movie.
Did you also find it weird Alyssa Milano didn't play the princess, though?
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Because doesn't that seem like the obvious thing? I mean,
what's even weirder is I think the woman who plays the princess in the flashback is one of the few women who doesn't get nude in this movie.
Actually, a lot of the women don't get nude in this movie, though. Like none of her college friends
that's
do.
true. None of her friends do either.
In fact, that was something I noticed. Not that I'm going, oh man, lack of boobs. But I'm going, oh yeah, they can't pony up the cash to these supporting actresses to be willing to take their clothes
even
off.
Charlotte Lewis. Like in my memory, I thought that Charlotte Lewis got naked when she seduces her. No, she doesn't. Charlotte Lewis keeps all her clothes on.
Totally. And this woman, this princess, is a Playboy playmate.
Well, no, that's the point I was going to bring up. That's what was surprising to me is if you're going to cast, because the other Playboy playmates that are about to rise up as naked vampire ladies, they are clearly like Penthouse or Playboy models, and they are,
and it's a problem, I feel like, because these like 1800s vampires have clearly augmented breasts.
At least
a couple, at least one of them has.
What I would
objectively say is a bad boob job.
Yes, and you're like, I just didn't know they existed back then.
No, and it's just it's one of those things where I'm going, I know you have no money or whatever, but like think about that to some extent.
John, back then, it wasn't silicone; it was goat's bladders that they would inject into a woman's bosom.
I don't mean to body shame anybody, but it kind of actually looked like that.
Yeah.
Snap.
Oh, he's coming in hot. Watch out, you!
I'm looking at who's playing the nymphs, as they're called here in the credits, and they are all like after dark actresses that have a lot of that cinematic showtime.
I mean, they look like
because especially in that case, they're like, we just need these women to basically not act, and we need people who are not going to at all have a problem taking their clothes. I remember Kevin Smith talking about that he goes, I was never comfortable with the idea of asking anyone to get naked in my movies. In fact, I still think he talks about Mallrats is like one of his great shames that he got forced into putting nudity in that.
Yeah.
But he did talk about when he made Zack and Mary Make a Porno, he goes, then I started casting porn actresses, and I realized, oh, that's fine, because just asking them to take their clothes off is the least anyone would ask of them.
Right.
So he goes, oh, then it didn't feel awkward at all. Then it was just like, well, they're like, of course I'll get naked. What are you talking about? It's like, oh, cool.
Everything is relative. Mm-hmm. So, their experience is like, really? That's all? Yeah, I can get naked.
And
no problem.
I think that's the case with, I mean, these aren't hardcore porn actresses, they're softcore. But I mean, I think that's the thing as well. They are like Penthouse pets. So they're like, sure. Right. We don't even really care what this movie is. If you're going to pay us, we expect to be naked in it.
No one did care.
And also,
when I read some of that stuff, I read some of those Alyssa Milano quotes. It was kind of sad to me. Not that she, I mean, what's sad is that she still sort of defends it. As in, she's like going, I was looking for something to break out of my goody two-shoes kid image. I was drawn to the script, and it had a female director, and I said, okay. And it's just terrible.
What she said, and I think because I was talking about this last week, that it's not that she regrets doing it, but she's saying she should have been smarter about trying to take some kind of control of how much was shown, how long things linger, what angle stuff is shot at.
Sure.
There was no, because we know this from hearing behind the scenes stuff. When nudity happens on a movie, it is generally so negotiated. Like some of those nudity writers you've heard about are so hyper specific about you will see one nipple from this angle of this thing, and that's it, and no longer than 2 seconds of the butt or whatever, that kind of thing, right? Like, so I think that's her going like, yeah, this thing really lingered, and also I think she probably was not thrilled that was like the. To be fair, you can say you should have.
Sean Bean is really upset about. It's like, what happened to the old days of being spontaneous with the sex scenes?
Oh my God, yeah. And I think
like it's killed all the fun.
I think maybe that's a little bit of what she's talking about. Not that she felt, anybody did anything inappropriate, but it was just kind of like, yeah, they were sort of out of control and nobody.
Well, she said, or what I remember her reading, saying about this is that she didn't feel exploited by this one.
Yeah.
Which is why because of this woman director. And so she was like going, this did not feel like it was taking advantage of me. So
I think the next one definitely did. But
it is about as naked as you could ever get.
Here's I have the quote of what she said. She says, "I'm not going to say I was manipulated into doing things I didn't want to do. I did it because it was a woman director and I felt protected. And I learned a lot as far as knowing where the camera is and what coverage they need so that it's not all explicit." And I think that's more what she's talking about. She goes, "I don't regret it or feel manipulated," but she also makes it clear that after the last one, she just after Poison Ivy 2, it was no nudity across the board for her because it's sort of like, yeah.
She did 2 movies back to back with the same director where she took her clothes off and then she's like, and that'll do me. Thanks, everybody.
Well, I think it was...
You've enjoyed Naked Me. And with that, I'm out.
I think it's sort of like, yeah, maybe I don't exactly need it. Because, I mean, also the movies are... you can't be proud of either one of the... Now, to be fair, I don't think I've ever actually seen Poison Ivy 2, but I can't imagine...
It has more of a plot, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I think it's also a little bit more... explicitly sexual. Like, this movie has a lot of eroticism, you know. It's that thing we talked about, like with The Hunger and stuff too, where everything is kind of gauzy. Nobody's like humping.
No. And I think the other one,
whereas I was reading some of the can I say I do really enjoy reading the parents' guide on these erotic films because they're pretty funny.
Parents' guides.
Yeah, but so I was just reading I don't know if this is... I wasn't, like, enjoying it in a pervy sense, but I was reading the stuff she does in Poison Ivy 2, and there you've got her simulating giving a blowjob and stuff like that, I think, which is... So that's a little bit more like... That one seems a little bit more like, okay,
that's why...
It's hard to argue that's not... Later. That's hard... Yeah. That one, I think, is a little bit tougher to argue. That's not just softcore porn.
Well, in the case of that, though, I think what would have appealed, and I'm getting into her head here... is that at the very least...
We're psychoanalyzing mid-90s Alyssa Milano, because there's no movie to talk about, so why not that?
No, I think it's because in the case of a Poison Ivy, she is the agent. In other words, in that movie, it's a character she gets to play. She gets to play someone that is a scheming, conniving, psychotic... seductress, which for an actor you're like going, oh, that's much better than this, where she's playing innocent virginal girl having naughty dreams about a vampire.
I gotta say, tough to accept. Makeup department, maybe cover up the tattoos on Alyssa Milano when you're playing innocent. Not that you can't be virginal, have tattoos, but
wow.
I'm just saying, like, the character they establish, what little is here, doesn't seem like she would have these tattoos.
Well, again, the character they're trying to set up here is
the other thing though is
anyway.
There's one that's pretty low downtown there that I thought was like, okay, odd that she would expose herself that much to a tattoo artist.
Well, it was the 90s. Everyone was doing it.
The 90s,
even the virginal girls.
The Poison Ivy thing also was I was just gonna say there was also a tradition with. I mean, a tradition. There was one, but Drew Barrymore used that first movie in a similar way to sort of go like, whoa, breaking out the. Although I don't remember that movie being sexually explicit particularly. It was more like
no, but it had nudity from a person that we only knew as a young actor.
But I just
I'm all grown up now,
and as like you're talking about too, they were bad. They're bad characters doing
they're
bad
naughty
stuff.
Now I will say this: we need to get back on the plot.
Well, can we talk about? Let's just even talk about the way this is promoted and talk about this poster or box cover art or whatever, because. I mean, once again, it's hard to argue this is a real movie when I'm looking at this. If I think I did pass this in a Blockbuster, and it was just like porn, not even going to look at it. Like. Just when you pass it by, when I'm going through the horror section, as the little horror nerd I was, it's not that I wasn't attracted to Alyssa Milano, but I was just like, that's not anything I'm going to need to rent. It's...
well, it announces what it is. I think it's it's like on point. She's in like a quasi orgasmic mouth open kind of pose.
Yeah.
And so you immediately know, even though we're dancing around a horror theme by having vampire in the title, we know that the sole reason for this movie to exist is her to be naked.
Yeah, and I think that's some of the comments I heard. She wasn't, although once again, you could argue, well, shouldn't you have been savvy enough to know that was how they were going to promote it? I don't know, but I think she didn't love that it was like, that was the whole promotion of the movie, too. I'm willing to do the nudity.
She has to know there was no story there. What else?
Well, I also think it's one thing for a 40-year-old woman to look back on like 22-year-old self going like,
sure,
what was I thinking? Like I said, it doesn't come off as like immediate regret, but more like, yeah, I was a different person then. And that's fair, because she, not too long after this, she'll get charmed, and that'll start a whole new phase of her career.
Yep.
Which I watched some of.
I don't know, a few episodes when it
Yeah.
first started, and I liked all the actresses.
All very good.
Well, actually, I like two of them. I've never, regardless of her persona, I
Shannon
was
Doherty.
never a fan of Shannon Doherty.
No, I actually liked it better when Rose McGowan came in. Not that she hasn't gone completely insane now, but then I liked Rose McGowan. I always had a crush on the third girl that nobody ever talked about.
Holly Marie Combs. Great, because we loved her from Picket Fences.
Yes, exactly. And so that was the thing where I was always like, everybody was like, oh, Alyssa Milano or Shannon Doherty. I was like, well, I like Holly Marie Combs. She's very pretty.
I'm also the guy who really thinks that Kate Jackson was the best angel.
Yeah, that's kind of that opinion. And speaking of angels, we've got the daughter of an angel in this movie.
We do.
Jordan Ladd. And it's interesting, Cheryl Ladd was in the first Poison Ivy. So
wow, you've really done your homework.
No, I've just as we've been talking, been clicking around on IMDb links and going point to point.
I didn't know that, but I will say that Jordan Ladd's film career never really took off very much, and this is not indicative of anyone's best work.
No.
I thought the other friend was okay, but the terrible dialogue. No one comes.
No, that's the thing. I can't judge anyone's acting ability based on this thing. Are you talking about Rachel True? I can judge Martin Kemp because it's consistent.
Clearly bad.
It's also consistent with him being bad in other stuff too. Like he's bad in the same. He's just a boring actor. I just find him boring. Yeah.
I know this much is true.
Ha
ha ha ha ha. I know this much is true.
Oh, here's a question I have.
That's what I want him to be doing,
because it's
not acting.
Great song, man. This I don't know where you watch this, and I don't know what cut of it, because there is an R-rated and an unrated cut. I don't know.
Well, according to the trivia, they explained what the differences were. So I think it was the unrated cut, but it was on Roku.
Oh, interesting. I watched it on somebody had uploaded to the Internet Archive in super high def.
Oh, very nice.
Great.
But they basically said if you see the orgy scene, you are watching the uncut version. So I guess I watched the uncut version.
Then we saw the same version. But then here's the thing that I threw down is that I wrote down immediately just from the title: "Embrace of the Vampire." ... The Nosferatu Diaries, implying this is part of a franchise.
This one, now when you saw it, it actually said Nosferatu Diaries in little text above.
Above. I'm sorry. Yes, right? Above. But just the first note I wrote down is Nosferatu Diaries, as if this is an entry in a franchise. I don't think there are any other Nosferatu Diaries.
No, and I actually think that something like that was not there originally. That sounds to me like
that's why I was asking if that was on, but it was on. If we watched the same copy.
On the version I saw, but I've never seen it attached until I saw that version last night.
It's not on the poster we're looking at. It doesn't say anything about that.
No, so I think it was an after thing where they're trying to fool people into thinking that it ties in with Vampire Diaries, or something like that.
I'm looking at the British home video release of this.
Oh,
it's pretty fucking funny, this box art. Number one, it's a totally different font. It is Kemp about to chow down on her neck here. Yeah, and it says, probably the sexiest vampire movie ever made.
You know what one of the weakest words is? Probably.
Yeah, probably. It's true. And then it says,
just
also,
generally speaking, that is a weak word.
I love, because this is the British release, Martin Kemp, Alyssa Milano. Kemp gets first billing in England.
And then great.
In their most revealing roles.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that it's like, man, there's not even any pretense about this being exploitation in the British release. It is just like boobs, and also kind of a false promise of dick.
Ooh. Oh yeah, because he's not that revealed, though we do see his butt.
Oh yeah.
If you guys at home, and I know there are a lot of Martin Kemp fans, a lot of Spandau Ballet heads out there. I think they're called bunheads, aren't they? Anyway,
I think so. Is that what that Amy Sherman Palladino show was about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It was about Spandau Ballet fans. But
weird choice.
So I think that they would be very disappointed in this film, though they will see his ass. And if they've ever been at home thinking to themselves, I love their music, but if only I could see Martin Kemp lick a door for about 30 to 40 minutes.
God, that was hilariously awkward and long, that scene.
He licks the fuck out of that
And then
door.
Alyssa Milano on the other side of the door having to do like an orgasmic, like, oh.
She's on the other side, just like going, damn, I bet he's on the other side licking a door.
And that's
hell, man.
where I go back to, this movie is sexy in quotes. Because this is one of those movies... I have this problem with any movie that's trying to go for an overt feeling, like hit me over the head. Whenever something is, it's sexy or it's sad or it's whatever, I'm always am kind of like, okay, it's just it's sweaty.
It's hitting all these beats really hard, but if the actors can't deliver it, if the words on the page will not support it, then it doesn't matter how you light it. And I will say this, as a director, she's terrible.
Awful.
And I'm sorry. I mean, as an editor,
Absolutely
she's apparently done amazing work.
Yeah.
But there are framings in this movie. There's that shot, okay? There's that shot of Alyssa Milano and her dry as toast boyfriend.
Holy shit. Boy, I mean, the return of the Freddy folks on this show, for sure.
Chris. But he wins in the end. He wins.
Isn't that what our Freddies normally do?
He gets the goodies.
I guess,
yes, they do usually win.
Yeah. Harold Pruitt. Oh, R.I.P., by the way, to Harold Pruitt.
Oh, sorry. I did not know.
No, he can still be terrible in a movie, even if he... Oh, drug overdose. Oh.
That is not good, and I'm very sorry. But this thing is with them walking across the campus, and it's like an above shot. Not a crane, but it's above them. Yeah. And they are cropped, like almost at their necks. And there's all this empty space above their heads. I'm like, what kind of a shot is that? They're angled talking heads walking across a grassy lawn.
There are so many bad shots, and I don't think there's a single actually good, interesting shot in the movie at any point.
No, you're absolutely correct.
There's nothing, and that's not even a budget thing. There's just no idea. There is such. It's weird that you could edit numerous Coppola movies and learn nothing about framing. Like, I know. Just learn nothing about visual storytelling. I will say that campus, I didn't know, because it looked like very European or English. Apparently it's in Massachusetts or something. Minnesota.
And I was like, well, that's a very pretty campus.
And it's a high school.
I did come away with the movie thinking, oh, it's a high school, right? Yeah. Private high school.
Which is
for girls.
For girls.
And I did think, that is a lovely campus. So the movie did give me that.
Yeah, actually it did. I mean, that was something they clearly lucked into that gave them some false production value, you know, or by the way, I like that she directs like 4 movies, this woman, and then immediately back to editing, and that's what she's still doing. Because it was sort of like, what?
She had to dip the toe in. She was like, I've been promising myself I was going to try it.
The guy who I always think of is, do you know Stuart Baird?
The name is familiar, but
he was like the guy who edited every great action movie of the 80s and 90s, and then he went into directing. He had a couple of films, like Executive Decision and stuff like that, that are like that movie's fine, and he did Star Trek Nemesis, and you're like, and that was another like Robert Wise thing where they're like, we want to action. We want to action this up. We'll bring in an action director who literally is just like. The pale alien guy, Data, the robot. Yeah, whoever he is. Anyway, apparently there was a lot of friction on that set because it was just like, which one are you again? Riker? I don't know. Anyway, Jesus. But pretty quickly he fizzled out and went back to editing and I think it's sort of a thing where and he didn't bomb out nearly as bad as this woman, but I do think it's a sort of thing where it's like, I dip my toe. Maybe I do belong at the editing keyboard. You know, I'm not. It's or Jan de Bont. I think he had a couple of home runs there with Speed and Twister, and then pretty quickly it was like, maybe cinematography is where you need to be. It's hard. Directing's hard. I think it and that seems obvious, but I think people think it's not because they see it done so well.
Are you mansplaining directing to this lady? Is that you mansplaining?
I think I'm director-splaining to people. I don't know, but it is kind of a thing where I think it's the same thing with acting. It comes up a lot over on the Action Show where we go, acting's hard. It seems easy from a distance because everything's been put together in this way. And
Every
that's where
now
you
and
get
then you do get lucky where someone from a field or something that's tangential,
yeah.
you'll find someone like I'll just say like a Dwayne Johnson
Yeah.
or a Dave Bautista,
Yeah.
where you get someone from like wrestling and you're like, I've seen wrestlers try to act before. This isn't going to be good.
And that's
and models. I've seen models try to act.
Pop stars. I mean, Martin Kemp.
Sure, yeah, but every now and then it's like, oh no, you actually did have the chops.
But those are the outliers, right? We talk about that on the Action Shelf because we do some of those WWE movies, and we're like, it is Dave Bautista, Dwayne Johnson, John Cena. They are the outliers. Everyone else is awful, you know? Like, is really, like, they're really bad, and those guys happen to be very good, you know?
I will say, though, that the Hulkster, he just needed the right project because there was something there.
I don't know. We've done a couple. You can go and listen to the archives of those. We've
Listen, brother.
Listen to me, brother. All right. Yeah, he's done a couple that we've covered on there. Anyway, this movie though, is this a movie? Yeah. So we start with we talked about that weird scene at the beginning.
Yeah. So okay, the origins,
which looks like a cheap
origin.
Fabio cover, is what I kept thinking.
It looks like a romance novel cover, and actually
his
the
billowy
scenes of
shirt and stuff.
And the horse hooves in the water. I was like, ooh, somebody saw Legend. But
and Ridley Scott was like, I hope they didn't.
We don't even get a date, but it's sometime in the pasty past.
No,
and
it's a romance novel of the past, exactly.
Of the past, and Martin Kemp is in a floofy shirt, and he's lingering on a riverbank, looking at his beautiful princess.
She's apparently a princess, a little princess bride too, right? The forbidden love of the
sure, absolutely.
It's
like we weren't supposed to be together, but I loved her very much, and then he doesn't even quite explain what this means, but while he's laying there on the riverbank waiting for her to show up, nymphs, aka vampire ladies who are topless, just sort of pop up, and then they drain him from various points of his body. One comes up over his crotch, and nothing graphic happens, but I was like,
no.
Yes, she of course worked on Bram Stoker's Dracula, because you've got the three vampire ladies.
The imagery is this is the cheap version of that imagery. Yeah,
yes,
no question.
2 on each side and 1 between his legs. Also, this is happening in broad daylight, so what the fuck is going on here? Because we find out Martin Kemp is kind of a typical vampire. He doesn't go out in day, and he doesn't like crosses, but you're like, oh, so what's this about? So basically he's like, so I've been immortal this whole time, but my time is running out. He does mention that.
What the fuck does that mean? Yeah, I was going to say, this is a movie that I have no idea what their take on vampire mythos is, because we got to talk about him just shooting lightning at somebody later, too.
Holy fuck.
He's apparently got the same abilities as the Emperor.
Force lightning.
I've never seen that before.
His powers don't make any sense, and also whatever these rules are don't make any sense. But we will find out, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but we'll find out that he has 3 nights left in order to seduce a virgin and drink her blood so he can continue to live. And he's convinced that he's found the one who's the perfect virgin and reminds him of his princess. And apparently he is just hanging out in the clock tower of her university. Yeah. And she is Alyssa Milano, and she, like we said, for 15 minutes of the beginning of the movie, she's just having a sexy dream and not really no dialogue.
Here's another problem with this movie. Like 70% of it is dream sequences. So I'm going, so I just don't need to take any of this seriously, is what you're telling me.
Nope.
None of this is really happening, so who cares?
He creeps in.
Like, there's a way to read this movie that there is no vampire in it.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah. Because it's all a metaphor about the fear of one's sexuality. You know they fucking said that.
Oh, like, no, you know they did.
Yeah.
And also, in case you didn't pick up on that, I mean, I've seen bad writing in movies. Certainly have. But this movie, when it gets to, and this is what makes it, I'm not saying that a female director is immune to this, but the motivations of all these characters, what they talk about, their inner lives, as we will discover in just a few minutes, all revolves around sex.
No,
and
it's
I went to college.
Same.
And I know that people in their late teens, early 20s, that's a big thing.
Well, of course.
Holy fuck, it's all they're talking about.
It is. And it's the yeah, it is just like, do you get, because we have to keep reminding the audience she's a virgin. So everyone around her is talking about sex so that she can be like, I don't know.
And she has and she has one friend that's like, don't, man. Charlotte is her character name. Charlotte, just let her be. You know, I mean, she's gonna get there, but don't shame her for being slow on the sex thing. And the other friend, who's Jordan Ladd, is like, she's just a prude. She needs to loosen up. Blah, 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 blah. And all they do is talk about Alyssa Milano's sex life. And Alyssa Milano's entire character is like going, I'm just waiting. I didn't say it was until I got married. I'm just waiting until I find the right guy.
Oh, and I do like when the boy, oh my God, the super boring boyfriend Chris is like, well, does that mean I'm not the right guy? She goes, I don't know. I'm thinking you might be.
Yeah, hang in there, buddy. This might be yours.
Well,
I will say
my
what a
favorite
terrible
character.
tease she is.
Yeah.
Because, all right, well, hold on. We'll get there. So, essentially, the dream with Martin Kemp, he gets on top of her, and he gives her his glowing blue
Oh
ankh.
my God, this thing, man.
It's an ankh, and it in certain scenes lights up.
Is it an
neon
ankh? Thank God somebody told me about that in great detail later in the movie. About what
I
it
couldn't
is.
believe that either. I'm sitting there going, she's a university student, and even if you just barely paid attention when the King Tut thing swept the world or whatever, it's like, yeah, you would know what an ankh is.
Yes.
But having some
pretty
stoner
common.
guy tell her what it meant in a club was like, that is just,
that
they
guy,
think we're
that
very dumb.
guy kind of threads throughout the movie weirdly, because he's the one who gets his head bashed against the door.
Yep, sure does.
But also my favorite character we'll talk about later is Chris's stoner roommate, who's like, dude, she ain't never gonna give it up, you know.
Oh God,
you gotta just get out there, man. Well, I do also
the ankh stoner guy has my favorite line in the movie, which he goes, carbonation, cool.
Oh God, it's
a great line. It's a great line.
That is such a 90s TV line. Like, that is such a cool guy. Like Cousin Cody would say that on Step by Step.
It's sort of like, can I get you a
Carbonation,
drink from the
cool.
bar? And it's like, you want a beer or something? And she goes, well, maybe a soda. And he just goes, carbonation, cool.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my fuck this script. Okay, anyway, so she wakes up.
Three people worked on this.
She wakes up and she does have the ankh. Ooh, was my dream real? Oh,
yeah.
But she has a cross. But when she wakes up, her boyfriend, the fellow student who's very boring. What's his character name? Chris or something?
Yeah.
Chris.
It's a bland white guy name, so yeah, of course.
He rushed over in the middle of the night while she was having this sexy dream because he had a feeling she was in danger. But what he has done is he just about? I don't know. But he settles down next to her in a room.
Yeah.
Like the fact this guy can just walk into walk into a dorm in anyone's room.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he goes to sleep next to her, and when they both wake up, she's like, what were you doing here? He's like, I thought you were in trouble and I came here. You were having a bad dream. She goes, that's awfully sweet. And then she's like, and he's like, you want to fool around? She's like, I have to go to class. And besides, you're not getting this.
Yeah.
And then she gets up and she's like, would you please turn around? And he's like, all
God.
right, I won't look.
Yeah.
And then she proceeds, of course, to undress.
I was going to say,
see
thank God we didn't turn her. I mean, just that's the kind of thing where this movie's going. It's this thing where she's this. It's so problematic in a broad sense of like she's virginal, but also look at her tits, man. You know, it
is where they're like going, we know this is why you're here.
And I think
that is a sad statement for a movie to make.
And I think that's the thing. I think you're right about then why the Poison Ivy thing is like, well, she's kind of offering it up in that. Whereas here it's kind of like, I'm almost like, well, should I be watching her change? If she's uncomfortable with this guy, I'm the audience now watching her.
Yeah, you sure are.
I didn't look away, but I'm just saying, but it is,
I love the idea of you at home like going,
no.
Oh, no. Columbo, no.
Yeah.
No,
I covered the cat's eyes. He was horrified. Yeah. We're not supposed to look. No, but it's just this weird, it is the Madonna horror thing, right? Where it's like, and that's, people are waiting for me to bring up that dichotomy on here. But it is sort of a thing where it's like she's virginal innocent, but also she's got a rockin' bod, man.
Yep. They're asking you to sort of respect her innocence at the same time betraying it and going, you are the fly on the wall that gets to watch her, get naked.
It's weird.
So it's like, great, thanks a lot.
It just adds to this. This movie makes me uncomfortable when it doesn't bore me. I'm either bored or like, oh, this is kind of gross, man. Like, the fact that she doesn't feel exploited by it necessarily, that's great, but it feels exploitative. The movie itself.
It is. I mean, it is. At the same time, they haven't fooled us.
I'm not morally offended or anything like that. But I'm just kind of going, like, okay.
They're saying this is what this movie is.
Yeah.
And they're saying this is an erotic thriller. So yeah, you're going to be seeing unnecessary shower scenes, or you're going to see people undress for no reason.
Saying, pretty much,
and you'll also see them having slow-mo pseudo sex like you would on Cinemax.
Yeah, it's that Cinemax sex where it's like there's a lot of naked people on top of each other, but nothing is actually graphic in its sexuality necessarily.
Not until you see Martin Kemp's very pale British ass.
He's the only one who gets to kind of have like sex, quote unquote,
quote unquote.
Yeah, I don't know this movie.
I know you kept rewinding it and going, yeah.
I was like,
all of us bunheads, we've been waiting for this.
Get Milano out of there, and let's just look at what we're all here to see: Martin Kemp's ass.
I am a huge fan of the vampire.
Yeah. The vampire in this movie is so sexy.
I don't forgive a movie that decides that one of its main characters will not have a name.
I mean, that can be done effectively and artistically in some things, but not in this. Not in this.
Nope, not in this.
This is a disaster. I don't even know this is a disaster because it also has no it has no reach or anything that it's trying to no ambitions as a story.
Nope.
It's just like, hey, can we kill 90 minutes?
It literally, as we've been saying from the beginning, it has 12 minutes of plot. There is no development of any kind. The vampire has one goal: to get her.
Yeah.
She has one goal: to figure out her sexuality and decide if she's going to give it up to the boyfriend.
So here's
she's
the question.
Not even turned into a vampire or tempted by that. She's basically...
It doesn't even matter that this guy's a vampire.
It doesn't matter.
And also, across the board, I love that they have no makeup budget. So when he bites people's necks, it's literally just Martin Kemp putting his mouth on someone's neck.
I also want to say...
It's so funny.
This is terrible fake blood. It is watery. Bad. It is bad fake blood.
I've never seen cut away. The fact that they linger on him going on someone's neck is like, well, I just started laughing because it's so silly.
I totally respect how equal opportunity is, because he gums down on guys. Gals.
He does. To be fair, this is the vampire. He goes both ways, man.
He certainly does.
Yeah,
he almost tries to. I mean, he quasi hits on the boyfriend when he's trying to size him up.
He's
like,
sexually fluid.
You don't deserve that, gal. You're stupid, but you're also kind of attractive and handsome. And the boyfriend goes,
well, also,
don't hit on me, man. I'm not gay.
Also, almost immediately, Martin Kemp comes up to him and was like, "How you doing?" The guy's just like, "Yeah, I'm not gay."
I don't know who you were talking to, but I ain't gay.
I can't imagine any reason a man would talk to another man if this isn't about gay sex. God, this movie. But also, does the vampire turn into Jennifer Tilly? Because there's one point after he rejects Jennifer Tilly that he briefly sees Martin Kemp, and then it goes back to Jennifer Tilly.
I think Jennifer Tilly is meant to be like he shape changed into her.
Yeah, but the movie is
technically that is the vampire seducing. He's trying to get the boyfriend out of the way, and he's like, "Well, he's not gay. Fine, I'll turn into Jennifer Tilly for 3 minutes."
Honestly, that would I mean, on a personal preference, I go Jennifer Tilly over Alyssa Milano, but that's
not me.
No?
Only because and I do love Jennifer Tilly as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But her voice, man, I can't.
I don't know, man. I mean, you're talking about, once again, she's funny,
that
man.
little baby voice that she has. I can't.
I've always liked the way she uses it and stuff, though. She's funny. Once again, she's
she's very funny, and like I said, I like her. I
love
as a presence, and she's an attractive woman.
I love that she was married to Sam Simon, which implies she likes a funny fella.
I like that she's a professional gambler.
That's kind of cool too, actually. Yeah.
A poker champion.
Yeah, that's awesome. So anyway, but the whole time she's in, I'm just like, what are you doing in this movie? And she sure as hell is not taking any clothes off. They don't have that kind of money to ask that of her. Jesus Christ. Like I said, I don't know how they got her in this, really. I mean, like I said, she's not like a huge star, but she's a big enough star to go. I mean, maybe it is just, I've got a couple hours. I can go to Minnesota.
Again, I mean, I don't have her IMDb in front of me.
Let me get her IMDb in front of me.
But I literally think that she wasn't there yet.
I don't know. I mean, she's done. This is 95. I mean, she was in Bullets Over Broadway the year before.
Holy fuck! Then why is she in this at all?
It literally had to be. It's some money and no time required.
Or she knew somebody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's possible if this woman was an editor on big stuff that they ran into each other, somewhere along. Yeah, she's already done a handful of. I mean, a lot of small parts and a lot of TV guest appearances, but she's far from new to the business at this point. And had already done Bullets Over Broadway the year before, which was obviously very big.
Yeah, but she hadn't done The Pompatus of Love yet, so that's the important thing.
And actually, she's a year out from Bound, of course, which isn't like a major hit, but it becomes a cult classic.
Oh, no, that actually was sort of an announcement of like, damn, she has arrived.
Yeah.
Everyone perked up, and it wasn't because of the sexy sex, it's because that was a really good thriller with two really good actors.
Well, there's a movie that does have a lot of sexy sex, but I don't think of as an exploitative film.
No, because it was working with, the same kind of noir but sexy thing, like Body Heat, where it's part of the plot. There's a reason for it.
Yeah. This, as opposed to this, where, well, it can't be part of a plot if a movie has no plot.
That's a problem.
Yeah. But literally the amount of times I have written in my notes, was this a dream? Was that a dream? Could this have been a dream? The part when she goes to the party, goes outside and starts making out with the vampire, and then her friend comes out and she's making out with the air, that made me go, is the vampire real at all?
There's also the bit like, it cracked me up so hardcore. I know we're not even anywhere near it. There's no plot. It doesn't matter.
This is why I'm just jumping around.
I'm not. When she is the only time we see her being a college student
in the class scene. I also love this.
I love it because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you get one movie. There's always a thing of like, you get one. And so while this guy's having a lecture, she has a fantasy of Martin Kemp leaning over, like going, I'm talking to you and I'm being all sexy and I'm going to drink your blood. You're my princess, whatever. And she goes, oh! And then everyone turns around and looks at her in the class. They're like, man, she's a freak. And she's like, I'm sorry, continue, please. And then it happens again.
Well, she does. The second one is like will you shut up? And you get a professor going, excuse me?
I was just laughing so hard because it's badly done. And again, it's one of those things where you're really pushing it, movie, if you think we can do it twice in a scene.
Yeah. And then, of course, she runs out of class on the second one. Everybody's going like, Charlotte's crazy.
Oh, she's weird.
That girl's weird. I still stand by, though. She looks like 1995 Alyssa Milano. There's still be guys going, I don't care. She's so hot. It's ridiculous.
Oh, no. That is for...
There's a lot that most of the guys on campus would let slide. Well, I do like when she goes to the party with her friends, that stoner guy who comes up to her, she's in the party for 30 seconds before this guy is right on her. Like,
oh, yeah.
And I'm going,
yeah. Well,
okay,
also,
that's kind of realistic.
Made the sexy turn.
No.
Don't forget.
Not the first time when she's wearing the onk. That's not the sexy. That's later. She goes back to what appears to be the same party, and that's where the orgy.
Oh, that's right.
No.
And she's been dosed. She's been dosed and has become sexy Charlotte.
She's a bad. That
wasn't even a vampire influence. It wasn't even a thing of like she drunk some of his blood.
Further adding to, I don't think there's a vampire in this movie.
Holy shit! If they had gone with that,
Yeah, that'd be something. It'd be
and
something.
maybe that is what they're implying, but they really need some work on that script.
Well, you know what doesn't work is the vampire narrating the story. Then,
and of course, people are dying around her. And here's something I do love: people die on her campus due to the vampire. So let's say the vampire does exist.
Yeah,
no one ever talks about these deaths.
Nope.
I mean, there's no like we're shutting down campus parties until we can investigate. People are just dying, including a dude getting his head slammed into a door that is then licked.
It's stuff like they're just like, hey, what happened to that girl? They're like, I don't know, I haven't seen her around anyway. Wait, what?
And I'll say this is how attractive Alyssa Milano is in the early 90s. She is surviving terrible 90s fashions, like those little beanies, those little caps.
When she
that was a thing
at the beginning when she put that on her head. I went, no, don't do that.
I like her little short hair because I do like short hair.
No, but she looks good. But the fashion,
putting like the 1930s like beret type beanie on the head. I'm like, why are you doing that?
That was the one I audibly went, oh no.
And like I know they're trying to make her innocent because they also have her in like cute little 90s overalls and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I did totally also think, supposed to be a virginal dork.
I did also think, wouldn't virginal dork maybe wear a bra?
Oh, well.
Because that scene where Charlotte Lewis has her, but it is just like, well, one more thing to take off when we never really have her unbutton her shirt. So, but with the scene with Charlotte Lewis in particular, what is the point of the Charlotte Lewis character at all?
The whole thing is like I had mentioned, I had seen this years ago, but it kind of, I don't know, like we've mentioned, there's no there.
Right. Why would you? There's nothing to remember. Basically.
Yes, remembering comes in flashes and images. So I did remember like that weird threesome scene that happens later.
That's right, because you were saying, I think,
or actually it's a quadruple scene.
No, it's a weird pointless scene. But
it's a fantasy scene. But I had remembered that, and so I think in my brain I had thought that Charlotte Lewis's character, who's supposedly the biggest slut on campus, according to Jordan Ladd, thank you. So in my brain I thought, oh, she's working with the vampire. She's like part of his brood or
something. That would make more sense for the point of this scene.
No, instead all it is not only is Charlotte Lewis the biggest slut on campus, she's extremely attracted to virginal Charlotte, and virginal Charlotte just doesn't know what she wants, and so she's kind of down to make out with a girl for a few minutes and then go, no, this is wrong.
I was also going, how old is Charlotte Lewis to be playing a college student here?
She was 41 at the time.
She's 28 though, because I was saying she had already done Golden Child at this point.
Yeah.
And that was 86, and she's not a child in that.
No, she looks maybe a little bit more mature. It wasn't really, I think, about her age, but
no, it's just she had that maturity, but I mean, look, the same year she's also playing. Well, okay, I'm about to lose my argument about the age thing. I was going to say she's playing a love interest for Seinfeld on Seinfeld, but lest we forget, of course, Jerry Seinfeld did date a teenager during the making of that show.
Yep.
And took a lot of flack for that.
Yep.
Whatever.
Though, it all worked out for the better.
Yeah, I mean, he's married to an age-appropriate woman now. Hey, man, people do crazy things. Actually, as I said, I like Jennifer Tilly, but I will say, actually, I think Charlotte Lewis is the most attractive person in this cast. But I'm still
going to give it to Alyssa Milano.
All right. Yeah, that's all right, man. I never went crazy for Alyssa Milano like some people.
Charlotte Lewis is an extremely attractive woman and very exotic looking.
She's Iraqi Chilean.
What a mix.
Yeah.
And that's some good gene splicing. But her, as you pointed out, the friend characters, we understand their purpose.
Well, they're there to be like, we're having sex.
Yeah. And maybe you should try it. And so one is like, but in your own time.
But
and
also,
the other one's
maybe
like
you should try it.
You should have been having it 2 weeks ago.
The fact that maybe you should try it, but with a different guy, is crazy to me. They're like, maybe you should just go to a party and fuck a random guy. Wait, that's weird advice for the virginal girl. Why would that be the more comfortable thing instead of going, I don't know, you have been dating this guy for a long time.
I think they're saying you've made it too much of a thing. You should just get it over with somebody to demystify the whole act of losing your virginity.
You know, there's a lot of debates on this, and I hear people talk about this. But, you know,
your mileage may vary, and
your mileage may vary, but
own.
What little is established about this character seems like that definitely is not what she should be doing.
And what is that toss-away line early on? Like maybe in the first scene where the boyfriend goes, you don't want to end up like your dad.
What is that? Yeah.
And she goes, yeah, he was kind of promiscuous, and we know how that turned out.
I was waiting for Vampire Dad.
Either Vampire Dad or he was very promiscuous, and we know how that turned out. I'm curious.
Yeah.
We don't know. How did that turn out? Did he die having sex in a car or something because he was so horny that he dies while having road sex?
He was literally fucked to death, Brendan.
He was fucked to death.
It was a horrible tragedy. She tries not to think about it.
And it never comes back.
Yeah.
Talk of her parents or parent never returns.
Or some kind of fetish thing gone wrong. I don't know.
We do know that she went to a Catholic high school because she's mocked for like, you went to an all-girls school, so you don't even know what it's like. And she's like going, no, it was pretty cool. The nuns were awesome.
Like, something no one has ever said. Hey, those nuns were pretty awesome, man.
I really enjoyed my time at the all-girls high school.
Yeah,
whatever they're getting at.
I'm still it's just so fascinated this got remade.
Because there's nothing.
Because what is there to remake? And I'm looking at the remake on IMDb. No one is in that. I don't know any of these actors.
What?
Yeah, like. I'm just saying.
Well, I guarantee you one thing.
You don't even have the thing of like, we've got Alyssa Milano. There's just no one in this.
No, but the reason they would do a remake is just like, we're going to take it farther than they did. So I bet it's just porn, essentially, I guess.
It's just hardcore porn.
Or maybe they have better vampire stuff in it.
Well, the vampire is named in it, so that's
that's a good move.
Yeah. There also appears to, I think it's obviously a little bit different because there's a lot of named characters that aren't in this. There's also flashbacks to young Charlotte somebody's playing, so it's got to be something more at least.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll find out in a couple seasons on the show when we watch that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a blonde girl. I don't know if does that make it different.
I always prefer a brunette.
Sure. So you're out. Never mind. I'm out on the sequel then.
This is not for you. This is not for you.
I don't know who Sharon Hinnendale is.
Oh, the Sharon Hinnendale?
And I'm looking at her IMDb, and I still don't know who she is. So, yeah, it's not another Alyssa Milano.
I guess we'll end up watching it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
From looking at her IMDb, no judgment here, but let me say, it doesn't seem like it would be as big a surprise that she took her clothes off in a Embrace of the Vampire remake.
Enough said.
Yeah. They didn't try to repeat that of going, can we get another like child star who's looking to be bad in a movie? Let's see. What else do we have here?
I've got to get rid of my innocent thing.
Did we talk did we talk about the glowing onk and just how much they keep using it? Because it's as much of a special effect as they've got.
One thing we should point out is that he gives it to her, and then literally that next morning when she's off to classes after she changed kind of in front of the boyfriend who's got to have the world's worst blue balls.
The fucking stoner roommate of his says that, man. You're going to die off blue balls, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I called this guy Spliffy. I don't think he gets a name, but he might as well. Because he's in a National Lampoon movie going, yo, you going to die off blue balls, bro.
He's actually probably like a nephew of Styles from from Teen Wolf.
Well, it is sort of like if this movie leaned anyway in that direction, that's the kind of character he would be. Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah.
But so I think the whole thing is as she leaves the next morning, she loses the yonk. outside the dorm, and I think that pisses off Martin Kemp. Like, I gave you that goddamn.
I do like when they
find
it later, and they go, "Do you know this?" And she goes, "No, but I've dreamed about it."
Oh Christ, that's right. And she normally is wearing a cross because she's a good Christian girl.
And the boyfriend gave her that cross because later he's like,
"Oh right,
what happened to that cross?" And she goes, "I don't know."
She's okay. I'll say this: there is nothing there for her to work with.
Right,
but we have seen her be in better things.
She's charismatic, and she's just. I mean, Alyssa Milano is very likable. You know what I mean? Like,
very likable is the thing.
She's watchable, and so there is that where I'm like, I have a feeling that the
only thing in this movie that kind of is sold to me because of her abilities, which again don't belong in a movie like this. But I thought both sides of her, like innocent her is what we're used to, Alyssa Milano. When she takes the I'm all hot and bothered and dangerous Charlotte, she did a very good job. I was like, so the only thing I'm really buying is that she can play both.
She's actually
because
probably
when she's being seductress, sexy lady. I was like, damn girl,
she's actually probably better in Poison Ivy too, because there probably is something more to play.
Because there's a character. Yeah.
Although I just looking through her IMDb, over on the action shelf, we now have to do a movie called Body Count with her and Ice-T. Yow. What? Yeah. Yow. It's he was a hired professional, but this was personal. Yeah, we're gonna rob some banks. Oh my God, with a baby Justin Theroux in it.
Oh, nice.
Like real early 97. That's got to be right at the start of his career.
Well, you have fun. I will not join you for that one.
All right.
But anyway,
you said you were a huge Alyssa Milano fan.
What should we talk about with I mean,
can I talk about so they go to this party.
She has lots of dream sequences.
Yeah. Those almost don't matter.
No, you're right.
Even though they're like most of the movie. But I'll talk about this is a truly insane sequence. And we'll get to the orgy in a second, which is also pretty insane, but also maybe didn't really happen.
Yeah, I know.
This scene, though, where her friend who's with a guy and he has a friend, and they go, let's go to this warehouse. You won't have to do anything you don't want to do. And then her friend basically just sets her up to be raped, right?
Kind of, or at least
or just abandons her without
approached.
It is so wild. Her friend is like, it's gonna be fine. They're cool. Don't worry. Then immediately goes off with the other guy. Well, this guy gets very aggressive.
And she's saved by Martin Kemp, who is full on Batman and Arkham Citying up in the rafters, or Spider-Man from the
he came down. I thought it was weird. His cape billowed out, and
he's definitely doing like the takedowns, where he's just up there, and then
I did think it was weird that he grabbed the guy, pulled him back up, and then hung him by his ankle. No, I thought that was strange.
Exactly. While there were other thugs going like, "Hey, where'd Ricky go?"
Yeah. Anyway, what the hell? It can't be. That my favorite is always in those games. The guy goes, "It can't be.
It can't be." Or I think the spider's here.
Yeah.
By the way, that PlayStation Spider-Man game, still one of the best in the world.
Absolutely
anyway,
fantastic. Yeah.
But so this thing is, you're right. That's dumb. But I'm glad you brought the scene up because I nearly forgot it, and we need to talk. We need to talk, as they say on Jason Mantzoukas from How Did This Get Made? We need to talk conservatively for 2.5 hours about the death of her friend in the net she can't get out of.
What is this? What am I meant to feel about this? This is one of those things where I'm like, is this scary? Is this silly? What is this?
Well, they're clearly not meaning it to be silly, but that's the way it plays. I was laughing so hard. All right, here's the setup. So she, and this is the friend that was being nice to her, but she is the one that set up all this nonsense in the warehouse.
I just like I said, regardless of whether she knew what this guy was going to do, the immediate abandoning of Alyssa Milano with this stranger is such it's such a terrible friend thing to do.
Sure, it is. But she's too busy having fun over in this warehouse at a different part of it where there's a hanging net that looks like a soccer net.
Believe me, doing the action shelf, I'm used to abandoned warehouses as set.
Sure.
So this is very weird.
But this is supposed to be, I think, sexy. Like she and her boyfriend are having sexy times of kissing with the girl up against the net.
Yeah.
And then the guy.
Oh, we've all done some making out in nets, Brendan. We've all been there. It's a rite of passage from
the guy, Martin Kemp just yanks him out. Like
he just gets like tossed aside. I don't know. Nothing happens to that guy.
And Alyssa Milano has already run off by this point.
Yeah,
she
because
doesn't know Martin Kemp is doing all.
He already bit the guy who was getting handsy with her.
But this is where I could not stop laughing. So her friend is now alone in the net, and this is what it looks like. She's just got her arms up in the net, and she's kind of used her hands to kind of wrap part of it around her forearms, but she's acting like she's trapped.
Yeah.
The director has said, no, you can't escape.
Yeah. But
and so this actress, this is like Bela Lugosi with the rubber octopus. She's trying to sell threat or like, oh my God, I'll never be able to escape and I'm scared, when she could easily do this and just twist her arms and be free. And Martin Kemp comes up behind her, taking advantage of the fact that she can't get out. Easily she could. And then
thank God for this net.
Then he leans forward to bite her neck, but he's on the other side of the net, which causes the net to kind of like catch his nose weird, and it's like against his face, and he's biting her neck through the net. It just looks so fucking stupid.
It really looks bad. And this is more of him gumming a woman's neck.
Oh, did you read that bit in the trivia?
I did. The thing about his brain tumor?
Yes.
Yeah, man. Super weird, where somebody on set commented on what a great makeup job they did on you. Look at the veins.
Those forehead veins are really popping. That looks great.
And they were like, what? And then, it turned out he had an undiagnosed brain tumor.
Yeah, he was like, they didn't put any makeup on me, and like, oh, because you got those crazy forehead veins. And then he went and had it checked out. Turned out he had a brain tumor.
Yeah.
So that is hey, there's one positive that was taken from the movie.
And because of that,
his health was
looking at I went to his IMDb then, because of that surgery and stuff, he now has a metal plate in his head.
Wow.
But a rumor started that it was due to a motorcycle accident, which something starts with he was like, yes, exactly, a motorcycle accident.
That sounds a lot better.
Being a real daredevil badass, as I normally am. No, but yes. So, I mean, whatever that crew member saved his life, possibly. I'm sure. I hope he sends that guy a Christmas card, at least.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I went down the Martin Kemp IMDb rabbit hole. He's married to a former backup singer for the band Wham.
Wow.
Yeah. Shirley
That
Kemp.
all worked out.
Yeah.
But he's forever doomed to just keep singing true. Bum, 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 bum. This much is true.
Oh, no. He's very employed by, like, BBC soap operas and procedurals.
Oh, good.
He's still acting, but in, like, he's in an episode of Father Brown, and
good for Martin Kemp.
Yeah,
but I do know that Spandau Ballet continues to do like reunion shows.
They're playing a county fair somewhere right now. Them and Aha are currently frontlining.
Oh, great!
Some fair. I actually did see Aha at like I don't think it was a county fair, but it was like an outdoor event where Aha was playing.
Can he still hit those notes?
Lord, no.
Oh.
No. I mean, he's not bad, but it is like, ooh, Take On Me is not, it's not getting up there. There's a ceiling on that now.
Take On Me, and then it's like, I'll be gone. And then they have some, they have like a woman step in to do the next note.
No, it is just kind of like we all agree he can't do it, so he's not going to even try that hard is kind of what was my take on it. Where it's just like and everybody was having a good time.
Good. That's the important.
And I was like, play the living daylights. Oh,
they have to. That was one of their big hits.
They did, of course. I mean, You know the like 4 songs they played.
The living daylights. Yeah.
Oh, the living daylights. Yeah.
All right, so back to this thing.
Yeah.
The friend, her closest friend, has been murdered now, and again, no mention is made.
Well, no, the only mention is she goes to knock on her door and goes, "Hey, she's not here," and then Charlotte Lewis comes out, and Alyssa Milano's just like, "Hey, have you seen my friend?" And Charlotte Lewis is like, "No," and then the scene goes on to something else.
And then later on, there's a cute scene with her and Alyssa Milano on a bench that becomes the flirtation.
Oh my God! You talk about some of the worst dialogue. You want to
come back to my room and look at my photographs?
Some of the worst dialogue is like you're so beautiful. Shut up. No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
Oh my God! I just was like, I agree. She can play it, but it's just a bad use of Alyssa Milano to have her be like, "I'm coy and don't know how pretty I am." And it's just like, that's a stupid thing to have her do in a movie.
But weirdly, I will say in real life, that does happen. I have met undeniably attractive women who don't get it.
It's the level of writing here, of course, though. Of course. It's no human being is talking like this, though. You could write a character like that, but it's just so like... And also,
I don't think so. And then
Alyssa Milano's 22 playing 18, but really feeling like she's 15 in how they're writing her maturity.
It's very true. And then that whole scene is, like we said, pointless, but goes back to the Charlotte Lewis's room and it's like, wow, your photos are so nice. Look at all these naked people. They're all so beautiful. And she goes, I think you're beautiful. You could be in my pictures.
Charlotte Lewis not being a vampire makes the scene really weird to me. We're like, why is Alyssa Milano kind of... It doesn't take any coaxing to get her top off. And like, you're just going like, well, what is this? This is a weird jump for this character to make.
Unless, again, I'm starting to really like the idea of the vampire not existing, except for we've seen people die. But
yeah, well, that's
but the whole thing of her just like, I'm gradually... exploring my sexuality,
and that's fine.
And so here's my little stop where I make out with a woman.
If that would be fine if you in any way felt that was a natural progression from scene to scene. Instead, you're just like, wait, what? And then they make out, but then of course it's like, no, I can't.
Yes. No, I'm sorry, I can't.
But then also, love, no, I can't. But let me know how the pictures turn out. Bye. That I laughed so fucking hard at the like, I'm getting uncomfortable, but also please tell me when the photos are processed.
And then when they have their next little meeting,
where she's coming out of the shower, though it's in a robe once again. Charlotte Lewis is like, yeah, you're not getting any skin.
And Charlotte Lewis is like, I want to apologize for this morning.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, that's okay.
That was also one of those where I'm like, right, it's only been 3 days. That was earlier today?
Yeah.
There are several times when we had to keep going like, right, this is only 3 days. A lot goes down in 3 days, and yet also
I had the same
happens.
thought that Martin Kemp at the very beginning is talking about, I have 3 nights to do this, and it does seem like a week passes.
Yeah. By the way, Alyssa Milano's nude scene was voted number 2 in the top 21 nude horror movie scenes by the Internet Horror Movie Database.
Wow, great. What was number 1?
Well, now I have to go to the Internet Horror Movie Database. Give me a second, and we'll keep talking.
Talk amongst yourselves.
That's.
I just want to see if I agree.
Let's take it. But look, we've got nothing. This episode is so we've got nothing to talk about. So let's see if we agree or disagree with the Internet Horror Movie Database's nude scene countdown. I always am slightly uncomfortable with the with your Mr. Skins and stuff like that. And I've heard actresses talk about that, where like some actors are going, I'm not against it artistically. I just don't want to be on all those sites where it turns into porn regardless of context.
I kind of think, I mean, that's totally legit. And thank God I've never been in that situation. And I think everyone should thank God I've never been in that situation.
I don't think either one of us are getting a lot of offers to do nudity.
But I will say that the whole thing with, on-screen nudity regardless of how technology is now, that stuff is recorded. And I'm not saying that people bring it on themselves. It's just that, did you think people would see it once in a theater and then your nude scene is gone forever? It's just not.
Well, that's becoming a problem now with people filming nude scenes in plays, though, which is also not great.
Oh, I know that. It's like, that is even creepier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, when it's just it does become a thing where it's sort of about. I remember Julia Roberts had that quote about why she doesn't do nudity, because she says, I make movies, the second I'm naked, it's a documentary. Now it's about what my body looks like, regardless of the character. And I thought that was pretty smart. You know, I mean, I thought that was a pretty eloquent way of saying that, or whatever.
Oh, I found it.
I've got it here too, and it's Matilda May in Life Force.
And that does make perfect sense.
Although, is that a nude scene? I was gonna say, is that a nude scene, or is that just the movie?
That is just the movie. That is a batshit crazy movie.
Okay, see, this is where
we actually could have covered, because it is kind of a vampire
I think
movie.
we might have had a conversation about Life Force. And then we decided, although if we do ever get to, we've talked about doing Campbell and Jones Meet the Aliens, we would do it on there. But
don't forget, we also have to do the Vincent Price podcast.
Oh, there's a lot of,
believe
me, there's a lot of spin-offs, though. Can I say, though, I'm looking at this list, and this is where the stuff gets creepy once again. Danielle Harris in the 2007 Halloween, she is brutally beaten savagely, and yes, topless, but it's like, yeah, number 4 nude scene, baby. And you're like,
well,
it is
these are nude scenes in horror films, so mostly they'll be victims.
And that's kind of the thing where it's like, Matilda May, Alyssa Milano, these are like sexy scenes, but then I get to that Halloween scene is so harrowing and fucked up that you're like, I don't know, that's really not meant to be like, dude, what a great nude scene. Or like,
do you have to say it like that? Do you have to say it like that?
I do, because that's what those guys sound like.
Nude.
Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck Doppelganger is that Drew Barrymore was apparently nude in, but from 1993. Anyway.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Oh, God, or Barbara Hershey in The Entity. There's another one that's like, oh, so hot, man.
I don't think they're trying to... Well, I don't know if they're saying they're hot, because if they're thinking that rape scenes are hot, then we should move on and never discuss this again.
Yeah, it's here in which actors appeared completely naked, and where the fear of sex, the need and thirst for it, sexual perversions, and the beauty of the female body are all essential components of the horror genre. Is in the introduction.
I'm feeling gross. Let's move on.
Yep. Now, well, I mean, let's be shocked that the internet horror movie database is a little creepy is not a huge shock. Yeah. And look, indeed. I mean, we're horror fans, obviously, but that's never been, and I think maybe coming up in the era post the 80s, the idea of nudity in the horror movie is not as appealing to... I always talk about this in general. I think I grew up right on the beginnings of the internet and stuff, so it's like the concept of nudity has never been... It's like, oh, yeah, it's kind of par for the course. And if anything, it's so ubiquitous in all the things I've consumed that I am a little bit like, I can tell when it's exploitive. I can, even if it's, I mean, I'm not offended by it, but it just kind of
You're the arbiter of taste, John.
I can't imagine the idea of let's go see this movie because someone's naked in it is truly insane
that would be sad for anyone if that was their goal. If that's all they get out of a piece of entertainment.
Well, that's literally all there is to get out of this piece of entertainment.
What? Are you kidding? You've got a performance as magnetic as Martin Kemp?
I got to say, yeah, when where does he rank on our ranking of movie vampires? The Vampire.
He doesn't show up. He just doesn't.
Even calling him a vampire is kind of offensive to me. Let's talk about
He does have fangs in a scene.
Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, I guess he's got Lugosi beat on that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that orgy scene, because, boy, you talk about just a waste of time. I don't even know. And like we said, this isn't even vampire influence. She's under the influence of drugs.
No, the whole thing is that
the vampire.
She goes. It does seem like it's the exact same party, but she is now.
It does. That party's been going on for 48 hours straight.
She's been convinced to dress sexy, so she's all sexied.
I did laugh, though. I mean, she does look fine, but I did laugh at the just like when she's in the mirror and she's lighting the cigarette and stuff. I'm just going like, oh, she's bad now.
Oh, she's so bad.
Yeah.
But the other friend, the not as nice friend, is like, you should have some of this. You can't be just drinking soda. Here's like a, I don't know, gives her something.
Yeah.
And she drinks it down and she goes, ooh, that hit me kind of hard. And she starts looking all woozy. Well, and someone else goes, what did you give her? It's like, oh, I put something in it.
No, she literally says, I put drugs in her drink. Oh, that is the actual line of dialogue. I wrote it down because I laughed. Like, dude, they don't even say
drugs in it.
She literally leans over to Stoner Guy from earlier and whispers, I put drugs in her drink.
And that makes her.
I hate the way that people just use drugs.
Yeah. I've never appreciated people who were drug users.
Yeah. Jesus. I just love.
She's wandering around the party looking like she's tripping, but also looking like I am now a sexual predator. And meanwhile, all the people at the party who are very typical 90s, generally white, college students start having an orgy.
And did you see this, that the director cast college students from the area that were all real life couples so they would feel comfortable? I still think, I mean, sure, it's more comfortable than doing it with a stranger, but I still am not like down to act out sex scenes even with, I mean, this just speaks to my own issues obviously, but
well, one thing I'll say is that for all the hype, as in this is what makes the unrated edition different.
It's pretty tame.
It's very tame. And it's literally, the unrated edition is literally a minute longer. That's the one we watched that has the orgy in it.
Yeah.
And the orgy is people kind of grinding on each other, but fully clothed, except for like a couple of instances of women having their tops pulled down. But again, this is not Eyes Wide Shut. This is literally just sort of
no.
This is tamer than the stuff you would have seen on Red Shoe Diaries.
No, honestly, like I said, even there's a lot of nudity, but the sex, there isn't much quote unquote sex. There's a lot of eroticism. There's a lot, that's
or
kind of,
attempts at eroticism.
Yeah, and there's a lot of kissing of body, which I do sort of think is a Cinemax thing about like, I'm going to kiss down someone's body.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And you just go like, oh, it's all. I mean, it's kind of like when we talked about the Carmilla movies over at Hammer, where it's like, it's just there's nudity and there's sex in the air, but you're not actually seeing anything. And once again, don't take that as, I really wish we had seen some stuff.
Too late.
Oh, man. Well, you know, man, we haven't brought that character back in a while, but he fucking loved this movie. I'll Embrace the Vampire, best one I've ever seen.
He's going, I have personally funded the 4K remastered edition.
Come on.
Out of my own bank account. I have gone frame by frame to capture the glory that is Embrace of the Vampire.
I have learned everything about AI upscaling just for this one project. And by the way, release the Goussard cut. The Goussard cut.
Alyssa Milano will not let me within 2 miles of her residence, and I understand.
I understand, but hey,
I get it.
Hey, man, she knows my name. That's all that matters.
Did this play in theaters?
I don't think it did. I think it was straight to video, at least in the States.
But again, that guy was probably like going, "That's fine by me."
Yeah.
I just took it home. Thank you, Blockbuster. No, I don't know what happened to the tape.
Yeah, literally never played in any theater in any territory. It was video across the board in every territory. So, yeah, this never saw the light.
All right.
This never saw.
So it wasn't up for Oscar.
Well, no. But also, why would it play in a theater? It would only expose even more the bad cinematography.
I like the way you said expose.
This would look terrible on a theater screen. It already looks bad just on home video. This looked bad on VHS. Even on VHS. I love the idea that even horny teens were like, hey, Alyssa Milano's boobs. And then it was like, oh, but these shots are pretty poorly framed. You know what? This is actually pretty boring. Because I do think even the amount of nudity, by the time you're on like your 4th or 5th nude scene, you're like, man, even that's starting to lose some impact. Where I'm like, yeah, I get it. She's naked in every scene. Now I am just focusing on how bad this is. or just going
You know
what a flimsy excuse for a sex scene.
Agreed. And not even a sex scene, as we've already mentioned.
That's why the Red Shoe Diaries worked for 30 minutes, because it wasn't enough time for you to go, oh, wait, that was actually pretty flimsy plotting. Hey, wait a minute.
Yep.
That had some serious plot holes. I don't understand why she was fucking that mechanic.
Oh God.
And Red Shoe Diaries is perfect because I also remember seeing that being a young man with cable and having that on at night after everybody went to bed. But even then, also going, boy, this thing seems to think it's loftier than it is.
Well,
it thinks it's artsy. It's that was it Solomon King?
Solomon King. That was his jam.
It's
I think
hot,
he was bad.
but it's not porn because it's a little artsy.
Yeah,
but you're like,
trying to make you think.
Yeah, no, there were like a lot of the Red Shoe Diaries plots that I remember. They'd have a turn or a moral lesson or something in them that was like, where it's like, no, we really want to be the Twilight Zone of erotic television. And you're like, please don't.
Yeah, please don't.
Well, because it almost made it go like, this actually isn't hot. Now it's just weird. This is just weird. This is just weird. And then Mulder would show up, and it was like, oh, well, okay.
Thank God that he was there to ground it.
Well, I did like Duchovny, but also probably younger me was like, I don't know, maybe Gillian Anderson could be in it? No, she wasn't going to go in a million miles towards anything like that.
No.
Though I do remember Tasha Yar being on it.
Oh, Denise Crosby?
Yeah. She was in at least one episode of it.
Well, I guess I got to get the box set now.
Well, let's see. eBay going to see. Is there? There must be a box set of it.
Jesus.
Let me look this up. This is what this show has become, by the way. This episode.
You know that's going to be on your search.
There it is, man. Yeah.
All right.
What? Did Kino Lorber do a release? No. Come on. That can't be.
Kino Lorber did Red Shoe Diaries?
It appears so, yeah.
Well, I know how you're spending your holidays this year.
How many of those in a row do you think you could actually watch? Like, one would be a curiosity. By the time you're firing up that second episode, it would be a lot.
I have played really stupid like mobile games on my iPad for 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I could let 2 episodes.
Well,
of
yes,
Red Shoe
could
Diaries
play, but I'm just saying, like, it would be kind
wash over me.
It would be kind of like watching this movie where you would just go, "Oh, there's nothing here, is there?"
But I also would probably. What would sicken me is not necessarily like, oh, this is terrible erotica. Mm-hmm. What it would be is me getting really sick of diving back into like the late 80s, early 90s. Well, because too much of that is also like, oh man, I lived through that.
And there's a distinct look, and that's what we're talking about, that this shares with that as well. There's this distinct look.
Focus video.
It's not even just the sexy stuff. Just like cable productions of this era, anything that was on USA or even a lot of HBO of this time had this look, and it was all like, it's weird to think about now because obviously TV and movies are so visually inseparable a lot, especially in the streaming stuff, right? But at the time it was like, oh, this is TV. There was a TV look, and we've done other movies on here that have that look. I think the Subspecies. This also kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah,
although I will say Subspecies is trying so much harder with plot than this. So,
well, it is. Yeah, it is.
It's trying. It's failing, but it has ambition.
Good Lord. Yeah. That's a terrible comparison because those are shit, and this suddenly drops to below that. Wow.
Man, I know, right? And even those.
Can you imagine Martin Kemp with those fingers?
Oh, now we're talking. Oh, now that's gonna spur some fan fiction. What if Radu met the vampire?
Met the vampire.
Well, let's talk about the end of this movie, which is the death of the vampire for reasons I don't understand. As we're talking about the whole movie, he's dying unless he gets Alyssa Milano. But this is also where it's a hat on a hat, where it's like, I need a virgin's blood, but also she's kind of the reincarnation, or at least reminds me of my princess.
Yeah,
that's weird.
It's weird. Makes no sense.
And also, I love the idea of the vampire going, I must take these 3 days to actively break up this girl and her boyfriend because I'm a vampire, but I'm not going to get involved with a girl who's attached. I respect that.
Well, he needs her heart as well. She needs to love him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like why are there like 5 stipulations to this immortality?
But I'll also say this: what his method of doing that is basically sort of alpha broing the boyfriend into saying like you're not good enough for her or whatever.
Yeah, man.
Or she's not giving you what you want.
Yeah, man.
You need
sounds
to get
like
it wherever else.
And it's like I've met this guy for 30 seconds. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like you got to dump your girlfriend, man. And I'm just a guy in a bar.
And then turning into Jennifer Tilly to try to
that's move number
seduce
2.
him.
Neither one of these.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. He could have, just like he did with her friend.
Yeah.
Just kill the motherfucker.
I can't believe that's what I mean. Where it's like, no, that's cheating in the vampire world.
The stoner guy who is pointless to the plot gets his head bashed into a door over and over again until you hear wet sounds of blood running down the door. And then, by the way, Martin Kemp, one of the hardest things that he had to live with, not just the brain tumor, not just the Spandau Ballet thing, is that nickname that he got as soon as this came out, which was just Door Licker. They kept calling him Door Licker.
Oh boy! Hey fellas, here comes Door Licker.
Yeah, the BBC would always be like, Martin Dorlicker Kemp is no, and he
I've
was
asked
like,
you to stop crediting me as that, and we've
Why did I
repeatedly
make that
said
movie?
we won't.
But anyway, so this makes no sense. But it gets down to the end where basically he has her in his clock tower.
Yeah, he calls to her. She's asleep in bed, and then she's in sort of this trance, like once again trying to kind of do like Lucy and Dracula.
Oh, and she is wearing the Ankh now. She's wearing the Ankh. She started wearing it when she dressed sexy. But anyway.
And on her way to a Hammer-esque nightgown, too. This white number she's wearing is a little hammery.
Hammery. And so
by the way, the Carmilla movies I'll also take over this any day. Any of those. I think we did actually like the third one, if I remember. Was it Twins of Evil?
Twins of Evil.
Twins of Evil is legit fun. That's the other thing. This movie isn't even fun. It doesn't have any like campiness or anything in it.
No, because they have they've doubled down on what they think is sort of that Interview with the Vampire, like sexy vampire thing, and you're like going, well, you've bled it of any, and I'm saying that with no pun intended, but you've bled it of any plot interest. That is just a mopey vampire with ill-defined motivations going after a mopey virgin.
If you aren't just a horny boy watching this, there is nothing to latch onto as a monster movie fan at all. There is not, like I said, I shudder to even call this guy a vampire. I guess it's like,
John, we've talked about this movie for like 2.5 hours, and there's nothing in this movie.
He like the vampire in this like squeaks in as technically a vampire because he drinks blood and stuff like that. But you're going like, man, it really isn't doing anything with that. So anyway, he calls to her, and then you've also got Chris chasing after her. We didn't talk about Chris at all because who cares? He is one of the most boring characters I've ever seen in anything.
And if there's something interesting that they do twice in this movie, both at the beginning and here at the end, is Chris seems to have some weird psychic link to her that he knows when she's in trouble.
Much like mentioning the father, stuff is just tossed in here.
Yeah, but so he does. He shows up when basically Martin Kemp is mounting her.
Yep.
Like, oh, this is gonna be good. She's mine now. And he breaks in and he's like, no,
get back, force lightning.
Yeah, I know.
He turns into Black Adam out of nowhere and hits this guy with a blast of lightning.
I know this is a tangent, but I've always hated the movies giving the Captain Marvel characters lightning powers. They don't have it.
I think
in the comics they've never had lightning powers.
I think they do now in the comics, though. I think they have.
Well, that just means again, Jeff Johns got his way.
It's the
because he invented all that nonsense.
It's the Jeff, in the Jeff Johns takeover of Shazam.
As if they're not powerful enough. They're Superman level powerful, but got to give them lightning powers because lightning is what changes them. Fuck that, Jeff. I'm angry again. Anyway,
I have no problem with it. It's fine. Lightning powers are cool, man. Not here though.
They are cool.
Not
that should be somebody's thing.
Like
Their
black,
thing,
like Black Lightning. Yeah. Well, either way, this is not a cool use of lightning powers, no matter what.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So yeah, he shoots him back with lightning, but that gives enough time for Alyssa Milano to wake up.
To break the spell.
Huh?
I don't want to be yours, the vampire, she says.
And there's literally a scene. He's just going like, no, choose me. Choose me.
Yeah, he really.
And I just
really
go,
does.
oh boy, that's what I want to see a vampire in a movie doing, getting real whiny and like down his knees going, why?
However, that scene really did resonate with me because I've done that in real life.
Well, I mean, look, yeah, that's the thing. I want vampires to not be.
No, not him.
Yeah.
Choose me.
That's the thing, though. I don't watch vampire movies to see vampires like me with anxiety problems.
Oh,
and
Vampires Like Me. That was a hilarious comedy. Wasn't that Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd? Oh, no,
good.
that was Spies Like Us.
Yeah, that was the abandoned sequel, was Vampires Like Me. Boy, yeah, that's what I want to see. A bored Chevy Chase playing a detached vampire. It would have been just as good as his Invisible Man performance.
Choose me. Choose me.
Choose me. Are we almost done with this shit? But that's always my Chevy Chase making anything impressionist. We almost done with this shit? Can I get out of here?
I think that's a very accurate take.
Well, I mean, there literally is stuff, of course, stories from Community where he's just going, just have my double do it. I'm going home.
Jesus God.
Yeah, if I'm not, if my face isn't in the shot, and Dan Harmon says, particularly after the first season, if you don't see his face, it is not him. It's stuff like the Pulp Fiction episode where we put Chevy's double in the GIMP costume and had him do the voice. He's not in the episode at all.
Jesus.
Yeah. And at a certain point it became like, good, we don't want that guy around.
There you go.
So she wakes up, she still wants the boyfriend, and once again there's nobody stakes him or anything. He's just like, oh, I have lost her.
That's exactly it.
And you're like,
talk about barely
I thought I was at least going to get a
sort of
staking or something.
He just kind of like, oh, my time is up because I missed my deadline and she didn't choose me, so I'm just going to die. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah, it's bad. And then she goes over to the unconscious boyfriend and is like, I do love you. And then they make out for like too long and there's not enough music. And oh, by the way, the music is subspecies level. This is the same.
Oh, yeah,
it sounds very much the same thing where it's like, these are like synth beds they got somewhere.
But basically, the ending is basically her going, thanks for showing up and helping me with that vampire. Now, let's lose my virginity.
Well, she does. Her last line is, hey, do you know what today is? It's my birthday. Right.
Oh, yeah, that had been set up at the beginning. Like, you're about to turn 18.
Which is weird because it turns this into like, is there like a legality thing now? The idea about now that I'm 18, we can fuck.
Also, I guess she has decided he's the one.
Yeah. Well, he stood up to a vampire, kind of, for her.
Yeah, he stood up to a vampire.
Look, once you take a blast of force lightning for a lady, they're yours for life, right? Isn't that how that works?
I am going to take that to the bank. And I will tell all the ladies, no, my friend John told me that's what works.
That's why you keep jumping in front of people.
I
using
always
force
jump in front of force lightning.
Oh, no. No,
do you love me now?
No, you pull a Vader and you pick the guy up and go, no.
Oh, this movie was shit.
Yeah, and then of course Martin Kemp just dies. He just kind of withers away and goes, oh, that's it for me.
Was there another quick flashback to his princess at some point?
I think there was in here. Yeah, I think you get, as he's dying, you also get a little bit of that, and he's like, I've lost my love and my life, or something like that. Some bullshit, and then the movie just stopped. It's terrible. But
the end.
Yeah.
She loses her V card. The end.
I do want to read, and this is a action shelf thing, but I think it's worth it because this movie is so terrible. This is a positive review of this movie on IMDb
oh
that I think is legitimate. This is always the thing I have to do in the action shelf. I think this person's being serious. Their review is titled "Fang Bloody Tastic."
Oh Jesus!
This is IMDb user Fatishi. Yes, Alyssa takes her clothes off, and yes, that's why I was curious of the film. But half naked or not, the film itself is pretty darn good. Not your average mainstream, we have Tom Cruise, so it must be a winner film. I love the idea of bad-mouthing Interview with the Vampire in favor of this. It makes the most of a tight budget and little special effects to create quite an atmospheric and rather erotic vampire tale. Embrace of the Vampire has great art direction and doesn't try to compete with movies of the caliber of Bram Stoker's Dracula, but maintaining its own individual quirks and ideas. Anne Gersart, who co-editor coincidentally of the aforementioned film, takes a director's seat and it manages to retain the same credibility. Watch it before you make up your mind. 10 out of 10 stars.
I did, sir. I did, or ma'am. I did. I watched it. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah. I just like the idea of going like, he's like, okay, I'll admit, I came in for boobs, but this is the exact opposite of what I'm talking about. It's like, but I came for boobs, but I stayed for the plot. And the art direction? What art direction?
This is so poorly made, framed. Oh my God.
Yeah. Also, managed to retain the same credibility as Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
A movie that won Academy Awards for its production design and stuff like that. Yeah, same credibility being used here.
I don't know why this woman didn't also go on to make sort of a more erotic mafia movie. It'd be great. She just follows her old boss's career.
A weirdly erotic Vietnam film. Yeah, there's like
very, very hot 1950s boxer movie. That'd be great.
Oh, them outsiders be fucking, man.
Embrace of the Bull. Oh, wait, I've jumped over to Scorsese.
I thought you were talking. Right. Yeah. Whatever.
No.
They're all Italian filmmakers. What now?
They're all. Yeah, I lump all the Italians together.
I can't wait to see her erotic take on John Grisham's The Rainmaker. They're just fucking in that courtroom, man.
Oh, Jesus. This
is an awful movie. This is a truly dreadful. There is no reason at all.
John and Brendan are in agreement. Do not watch this film.
Especially now in a
I'm
world
willing to bet that if you were at all interested in Alyssa Milano, you've already seen the only parts of this movie.
I was just going to say,
you would have wanted to see.
Especially in a world where those scenes are readily available, excised from the movie. If that's what you're looking for. Because
I will say, if you watch those scenes excised from the movie, what you'd walk away from is like, wow, that is a beautiful young woman.
Yeah.
And you would not then feel bad about the context in which she was doing those scenes.
Yeah.
You could just go, oh, okay.
Like I said, I don't feel icky about the nude scenes. I feel icky about the dramatic scenes. Jeez.
Yeah. That she's forced to be in. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the part where I'm like, you poor girl. If anything, if you've got it, flaunt it, lady. But boy, oh boy,
she did, and she made her money. Yeah, and I hope
and managed to do that and not have it like come to define or ruin her career.
Right, she survived it easily.
It didn't become, and then from here on out, it's nothing but softcore fare because we've seen that.
And she has. It's not past tense, but she has enough talent to where that was never going to be her fate.
Yeah. And now you know what she's doing now, right? They're bringing back Who's the Boss.
Are they really?
They are bringing back Who's the Boss. Yes, she's raising a family.
Didn't the lady die?
The older lady died. Yeah, not Judith.
Catherine Hellman. Yeah,
she died.
I thought Judith Light died.
No, she's still alive. But
I'm glad.
Oh, but she's just not participating.
Oh, she's not going to be in it?
She's not in it. No.
Wait, is this going to be Tony and his daughter?
It's Alyssa Milano. I think she's divorced. She's a single mom. And guess what? Tony's going to move in to help her raise the kids. Wacky Grandpa
crazy.
Tony.
That's crazy.
That's another one of those where I'm going like, who was asking for the return of Who's the Boss?
I mean, they are... a precedent has been set, and people will flock to see a reboot for a little while.
Whoa, Tony.
I don't think it's just like
And you know, there's going to be so many jokes about these kids today and the TikToks.
Oh God, it's like the show Reboot that we've both been watching,
which is fucking great.
Yeah, it's fucking great, but they will be just making constant those kinds of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my day, people actually looked at each other when they talked.
Oh.
You with your thumbs, always with the texting.
I can't with all the pronouns. Oh, jeez.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Like it's. I mean, I like Danza, but Jesus Christ.
I like Danza and I like Milano, and maybe it'll be worth a watch.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like any of those things, everybody's gonna watch that first episode just because we want to see them back. But that's always the problem with those when they would do. It's like when they did the Brady Bunch specials.
Again, you have that box set of Fuller House. Do not lie.
I do not have the box set of Fuller House. I don't need it. It's all on Netflix for me. I like that. I go, I don't have the box set, but then I follow up. I did watch every episode of it, but
wow.
Well, that was hitting me where I lived there. Like that was my sitcom as a kid, of course.
Understood.
I was prime TGIF. That and Family Matters, you know.
Oh boy.
And I'm so bummed that Urkel Christmas special got canceled on HBO Max.
Did I do that?
I think it was. Did I do that? Did Urkel ruin Christmas or whatever? Anyway, next week on the show, another very different vampire movie. We are talking about Abel Ferrara's The Addiction.
This is a weird flippity flu.
Yeah, this one is.
This is a strange twofer.
It is a strange twofer. Everything about The Addiction, though, has so much more. I don't think I've ever seen this movie. But it's got a lot going in its favor because I like Abel Ferrara, I like Lily Taylor, I like Christopher Walken.
It is very, as you would understand, being familiar with Abel Ferrara, it is extremely indie.
Yep.
And it is so of its period, and it's all about, as the title suggests, it is low-key vampirism, mainly with a focus on it being a kind of drug addiction story.
And
so it's completely unglamorized.
We've talked about that's a way to play vampires, of course. That's
Lily Taylor, always good.
I fucking love Lily Taylor, man. She's the best.
She is.
She is not underrated necessarily, but I don't feel like she gets talked about. I'm just looking at what she's been up to. Yeah, she was so good on Perry Mason.
She was amazing in Perry Mason.
She's just, she's somebody who it's like, well, even if it's bad, she's good in that horrible remake of The Haunting. That movie is awful, but she's still good in it because
that was good casting. She was a good choice for that.
She's just, I'm a huge fan of hers. So, and also, dude, is it even Walken, man? He's the best. And you also got Edie Falco in that. Oh man,
yep.
I'm looking forward to this because I've seen a lot of Abel Ferrara's movies, but I don't think I've ever seen this one. So,
it'll be a delight for you, and I haven't seen it since it was in the theaters, so it'll be a fun revisit for me.
So yeah, and I think no matter what, it's gonna once again look a lot better when it's right after this one. Because
by comparison, it will
any
look
sense
amazing.
of filmmaking. And then I will say, just as a little tease, in 2 weeks, we're back to The Howling.
No.
Yeah.
You promised me that.
Oh no, Brandon, there are still 2 more Howling movies.
Jesus Christ. I don't know if I can do it, man.
We go into the 2000s with The Howling.
God.
Yeah. Anyway, so stay tuned for all of that. It's gonna be a weird bunch of episodes going forward. I will say, like the next 6 or so are weird stuff.
Okay, great.
So, and I'm not saying bad stuff, just weird. A lot of weird stuff. So,
understood.
Yeah. So, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
Ha, 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 ha. I hate the Howling movies.